Hi. I go to this amazing society on a fortnightly basis. It's about spiritual and deep thinking, being a spiritual person. It's called Krishna Conscious Society. And I've learned a few things from there throughout these weeks I've been going to, and they were really helpful for me. And I just wanted to share it because I think it's going to be helpful for you too. So it starts with a story. A story is that there was once a circus and there had been a fire in the circus. So all the people ran out, all the animals ran out, but there were two elephants that were still there. Um, their legs were chained and the hook was stuck with a wooden peg in the soil. They didn't try to run away. They screamed, but they never tried to escape. And it was something curious. When people came after the fire, they died eventually, obviously. So people came in and they examined that why did they not try to escape. So the ringleader who trained them, he was very sad, but he said that when they were kids they were tied the same way when they were little elephants, and no matter how much energy they put in, they couldn't escape when they were kids. So the same thing happened when they were old enough. They didn't even try because they had this thought in their mind, the belief that they can't do it still. They were conditioned to believe in the same way, so they didn't even try to escape. But obviously at this point, if they tried, they were more heavier, they were more stronger, and they could have done it, but because of the belief in the mind, they didn't even try. There's another similar story is that there was in a university there was a maths class going on, and a professor wrote two equations on the board, and he said to everyone that these two equations are not solvable, you can't solve it, but what we'll do in this assignment is do coursework based on it. A student came in 10 minutes late to the class, so he didn't hear all this. All he saw was two equations on the board, and he just copied them down, and he just went. um after a few weeks, the student comes to the teacher. He's like, I've been trying really hard, I haven't been able to do the assignment, but if you give me a few more days, I'll do it. So the teacher asked, are you working hard for it and everything? He said yes. He's like, okay, I'll give you the extension, bring it back. Few days later he comes back, the student, and he tells the teacher, I've solved it. And the teacher's like, what have you solved? So he comes and says that I have solved the equations you wrote on the board. And the teacher saw everything on the page and he was like, wow, you actually did something. The difference here was that he did not hear what everyone else heard, that this is unsolvable. His mind was not conditioned to think that this can't be done. So he eventually did it. So it's all about in the mind, what's going on, your beliefs. And I'll show this to you in a graph and you'll understand it better. There's four things in it. So number one is your beliefs or your thoughts. Then what's connected to it is your emotions. And then out of your emotions there comes actions, and through your actions you determine your results, and they go feedback. Okay, so take this example is you have an exam tomorrow, and you go to the exam the next morning. You've studied and everything, but you see people talking about a question, and you instantly go like, oh, I don't know the answer, I'm underprepared. So your belief is that you're underprepared, and then your emotions will be linked to it. So what you'll be feeling is a bit demotivated, you'll feel stressed, you'll have anxiety. And what will that lead to is the action is maybe you'll lose focus, you won't write answers as good as you would have able to, and then what could that result in is you failing the exam. And then that feeds back to your beliefs again. But if you look at a similar scenario, if you have prepared well for an exam and you go in and your friend asks you a question about a certain topic and you know the answer, you automatically feel confident, you automatically are, motivated, you're like a very chilled out because you know the answer. And what that leads to is you being able to focus properly, you being able to do the exam nicely, and what that results back to is you passing the exam. So everything is connected. What your beliefs lead you to emotions, and your emotions lead to your actions. But the thing is, the beliefs, the emotions, and the actions are something you can control, but the results never in your control. You can, it's not just about that. If you believe well, your emotions are all cool and your actions are good as well, but you can sometimes still fail because that's not in your hand. But that doesn't mean you do your best on these three, and you leave this. You don't have to worry about this, because the more you worry about the result, the more your emotions are, you're like stressing out and all that, and that can lead to emotions that won't help for the result. But you have control over these three, so you can actually hope for the best, do your best and hope for the best. Now obviously, I wasn't able to explain it amazingly as I was explained to, but the moral of the story was what I put out to you. So I hope that this helped you. Thank you for listening.